today on the Tearsheet Podcast.
For us, it's a new market opportunity with digital-first customers, which is terrific versus our traditional commercial clients that are more hands-on, and then really allows us to leverage our technology strategy, which is cloud-based, API-ready core system.
Welcome to the Tearsheet Podcast. I'm Tearsheet Editor-in-Chief, Zack Miller. We've been talking for a long time about big tech's move into finance and banking. We've seen Apple's launch of a credit card, Amazon and Shopify's lending to merchants, and Facebook move deeper into payments on its messaging apps. News hit this week that gave us more insight into Google's moves in banking. The company is launching Plex accounts, smarter and simpler bank accounts within a redesigned Google Pay app. Google isn't becoming a bank. These accounts are launched in collaboration with chartered banks like Citi and BBVA. Seattle Bank also landed a partnership with Google. The sub-$1 billion community bank in the Pacific Northwest will also work with Google to launch a Plex account. I spoke with John Blizzard, Seattle Bank's president and CEO, about the move and what it means for a community bank. We discuss if other small firms can and will replicate these types of partnerships with big tech. John shares his vision for the future of small banks and technology. John Blizzard is my guest today on the Tearsheet Podcast.
So I'm John Blizzard, president and CEO of Seattle Bank. Been there 6 years, and we are a boutique bank based in Seattle with one location and predominantly serve commercial clients and private banking clients.
All within the Seattle area?
Yeah, Puget Sound area. Yep.
Okay. And there's some big news here. Seattle Bank is one of the leading financial institutions collaborating with Google on the new Plex accounts that we've been reading about, huh?
Yeah, absolutely. We're very excited about it. And for us, it's great because we really did this for three reasons. And that was to offer, the best product we can in the market. And we don't try to be all things to all people, but when we do enter a niche or a market area, we want to offer the very best products or services. So it enabled us to do that. For us, it's a new market opportunity with digital-first customers, which is terrific versus our traditional commercial clients that are more hands-on, and then really allows us to leverage our technology strategy, which is cloud-based, API-ready core system.
So, John, can you take us, I guess, I know it's hard to talk about Google, and we won't. We'll try our best not to. But can you take us, I guess, back internally at Seattle Bank at the institutional level? What conversations are happening before the Google Pay opportunity may have popped up?
Yeah, I think, this was our tech strategy had been in the works for years, and we had learned early on, and maybe naively so from my standpoint, say 5 years ago, 6 years ago, when we tried to do new fintech-oriented type stuff for our clients where we could really add cool value or experiences, we learned pretty quickly you actually can't do much of that with traditional bank legacy technology. It's very difficult. And the way the systems and the vendors are all set up, or just no good alignment there. And so we decided over a couple year period that ultimately we needed to change our core system and regain control of our tech stack. And so for us, that meant making the change to a new core provider and a new system. And so that we moved to Finastra, which is cloud-based core. And so this was all in the works before Google even showed up on the map, right? And so it was all about taking control of our tech stack so we could deliver cool, neat experiences to our customers and maintain relevancy and drive value to our customers. So for us, we did a core conversion that we finished earlier this year. There's probably less than 50 banks in the country in a year that will do a conversion.
Yeah.
Because it is the hardest thing you can do in banking. It's by far harder than an IPO or an M&A deal. It is, and that's why banks. There are lots of reasons banks don't do it, even though they can be highly frustrated with their legacy core providers. It is very, very challenging. So we were in the midst of that when we interacted with Google. And it's just one example of the kind of things we can do with the right technology stack, and then collaborate and partner with the right groups. So in our case, it's Finastra, who's our core provider, is very strong alignment with us, and they're very big proponents of open banking. And so they support us in this collaboration with Google. So it's pretty cool for a bank.
Yeah.
One location, 60 employees, that we can do something like this.
This is wild. So Google, your interaction with Google will now make Seattle banking account available nationwide. Is that true?
We're pretty much focused on the Northwest
Okay.
initially. Not that we wouldn't expand that, but initially we're pretty focused on our region, our community.
Mm-hmm. I got it. And so I guess I want to take the opposite questioning and being cloud enabled and as you talk about that open architecture, has there been work at Seattle Bank to bring in other best of breed fintechs, I guess, into your accounts, into your customer experience so far?
Yeah, we have looked at dozens and dozens of different services and fintechs over the years, and we've looked at embedding them. We've looked at acquiring fintechs, investing in fintechs to drive more value to our customers. A large portion of and we are huge fans of the innovators and entrepreneurs in the space. We really think banking can just be better, and a lot of great things happening there. But the reality is, it's pretty hard. A lot of the folks, a lot of the fintechs are not mature enough really to have to embed in your banking experience yet, given the security concerns, the viability concerns. When you look at your vendor management program, says, hey, you want to make sure somebody's not going to be they're losing money and you don't want them to go out of business middle of them providing services to your customers. So it's actually a pretty tricky thing to do. We have our core system, or our digital provider in the front end was a company called Malazi, and they were acquired by Finastra, which worked out really well to our advantage. So we're working closely with Finastra to upgrade that digital experience for our traditional clientele. That is a much more complex digital experience, if you will, than like the Plex accounts. So the what we have for our commercial and private banking clients, is set up for companies and entitlements and a wide variety of things. So a little different use case there, but yeah, we've got a good alignment there to do it. But upgrading and embedding new features, services is really hard to do on a regular basis in banking. It's getting better, I think, but the key thing is having a core provider that is in alignment with you to do that.
So it definitely sounds like you're set up to do that in the future. What's it been like to be, a small community bank, sub 1 billion? What kind of pressures have you felt over the last few years? It sounds like you were already embarking on this technology journey, but where did that pressure come from, if there was pressure?
Well, you've if you've been in the industry or looking at the industry, you've seen the commoditization, which is significant over the last 20 years, right? And just look at the number of banks in the country, particularly community banks, and how that has shrunk. Just in our county alone, in where Seattle is located, and this probably would be similar to other areas. We had 22 banks chartered in our county. I think it's like 6 now, 5 or 6, and that was from mid 2000, like 2005 or something, to today. You see that at the state level as well. Just way less community banks because it's a commoditizing industry, and you've got to find ways to safely run your bank and to make a profit, and serve your clients. So and community banks are incredibly entrepreneurial. They typically have been entrepreneurial on the credit side. Whether you're an ag bank or you're doing leasing or whatever it might be, community banks have typically been very entrepreneurial in that area and innovative. And now it really is really critical they get innovative on the digital side on the deposit side.
Do you think you'll start seeing more of your peers strike deals with big technology companies like a Google?
Well, I think big tech has different strategies for this space, right? So, but I think you will see more and more types of collaboration between tech firms and community banks. I'm a huge proponent of community banks. I think it's critical that we find ways to partner with big players to do unique things for clients. And this is great that Google is doing this.
And I guess part of the strategy you mentioned, you had already undergone a core, like swapping out for a new core, which sounds like the world's most painful experience, the way you're describing it. Are there other strategies that you have that you're using for expansion within the region beyond the Google relationship?
Yeah, we do have some things we've had in kind of skunk works for a while that we're looking at doing that we're I can't really talk about, which is unfortunate. But yeah, so we've had ideas and things have been marinating for some time that really are required to be on this kind of technology. So we're
Hmm.
going to be embarking on those, over in the future here. So that's why I like to think, well, this, Google Seattle Bank is super awesome, and we think it's going to be really a game changer. We have other ways we think we can deliver value to clients through use of technology, and that's kind of exciting.
Awesome. I'd be excited to hear about those when you're able to talk about them. Um, what 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 do you wish you would have known before you started the core upgrade, that you know now? Like what I guess in retrospect, is there something you would have done differently in the process?
Probably would have started it sooner.
Hmm.
Um, really, and I guess maybe just to back up from there, really figuring out your technology strategy to serve your clients in a digital world, right? What does that look like? And we have been working on it for some time. And while we've made the change, it would have been great to do that a year earlier. And that would have enabled us to do things sooner. So that probably is the biggest thing. Um, it's really about, yeah, gaining control. Your point of control. The way to think about it actually is, in the past, these core systems, which is kind of the guts of a banking tech stack, they usually just impact the back office. This was all back office stuff that didn't impact the customer,
Hmm.
until we got into digital banking, right? And the last 10, 15 years, now that's become front and center. And that core infrastructure is just really impacting your ability to do things for your clients. And today, most banks are buying what their vendors sell them. They're not really innovating new things for their customers, right, on the front end digital side, where the fintechs are doing all sorts of cool stuff. And so obviously there's a lot of partnering going on out there, which is cool. That's difficult to do as well, but yeah, there's just a lot of opportunity to improve the client's experience, and data is one of those, right?
Hmm. What about one of the concerns we've heard from banks, both big and small, here on the podcast, has been, doing a deal like a Google deal or any type of deal that partners with another partner on the front end, that banks run the risk of relegating themselves to being, dumb pipes, is the term that I've heard batted around. How do you think about that? Was that a concern? Is that are you embarking on two strategies, like a front end strategy and kind of a partnership strategy? Like, can you take us through, I guess, your your thought process around that?
I would say our strategy is pretty simple. It's like, how do we drive as much value to clients as possible
Hmm.
and continue to do that? So it's not a one and done, and you got to be continuously innovating. You got to continuously collaborate with the best, strongest partners out there. What we don't want to do is have a bunch of start and stops
Hmm.
where we partner on a few things that are not viable, and that wastes our resources and we don't deliver for our customers. We think if we move fast, but pick the right collaborations, the right partnerships, et cetera, and then we keep moving fast, that'll be the difference. If we're delivering to customers, we're less concerned about being the dumb pipes. The reality is you better be driving value or you will become
You'll
the
be
dumb
dumb pipe
pipes, right?
anyway.
Yeah,
Yeah.
it's happening anyway. So recognize you're in a commoditized industry that has a lot of cool innovation finally happening. So take that innovation and create a niche. And I think that's an opportunity for community banks and credit unions, is to have more of a niche.
Interesting. From a community bank level, do you view challenger banks as substitutes or as competitors to what you guys do?
Um, we love the innovation that's going on in that space, and I think it's pushing the rest of the industry. And so we generally just see the big banks as our competitors for the most part. They have massive share,
Hmm.
right? And so that's otherwise we're huge proponents of the community banks. Great to see the challenger banks making the progress they're making, but If you just look at the scope and scale of the big banks, there's ample volume there of clients that can be better served by a lot of the community banks and challenger banks out there. So that's kind of how we look at it. We don't ever really worry about from a competitive standpoint. Community banks, challenger banks, I think have done a nice job in some cases, but in general, we don't walk around thinking of them as competition. We think of the biggest banks that really have a tremendous number of clients.
So I get that, but do you see defections from customers to challenger banks, or they typically defect to the big banks, the money centers?
I would say we've not seen defections. Either way, we probably get 90% of our new clients, if not
The
even
other
more than
way.
that, the other way from big
Yeah.
banks. We're a net grower of business. So our boutique bank has been a very fast growing business for us, even aside from kind of this new technology stuff we're doing. So, but we have a niche, right? Folks that have complexity and they value service a lot in our private bank. But that's a niche for us, right? So on the
Right.
credit side, on the deposit side, that works very well. We're very strong. We're very well capitalized. We're profitable. We have very strong credit risk. So those are all the things you want to have. As you innovate in banking, right? We're a risk management company, number one, and we want to keep that front and center, in all the things that we do. And if we do that, then opportunities pop up all around us.
So I think you differentiate in the beginning of the call between sort of the account structure that on the Google Plex accounts, which sounds like straight ahead bank account, versus the boutique, like you said, white glove service that you give to your clients. Is there a digital component to the boutique part of the bank?
Yeah, absolutely. We're like a lot of banks will say, we're high tech, high touch
Hmm.
in the boutique bank, but that is a broader set of services than would be in the Plex account, which is is consumer, right? It's consumer
Hmm.
oriented. So we're typically working with businesses or
Hmm.
maybe folks that have complexity, even though at the individual level, that's more like a business.
Hmm.
So that's what's great for us. We get to go after a whole new digital first market, and
Great.
it's a big opportunity for us to bring in new clients to the bank and do it in an efficient way and do it through a digital first approach. So that's how we're looking at leverage our strategy and and deliver the best in the industry. That's what we're always looking. Hey, if we're going to do something, let's try to be the absolute best we can be and drive real value to customers. And so
I
that's
get
how
that.
we're viewing this partnership.
So John, we like to end our interviews with, I guess, a look forward. The Google Plex accounts are launching sometime in 2021. What are your biggest priorities as the leader of Seattle Bank looking out into next year?
Well, certainly delivering the delivering on the Plex accounts and getting that to market will be key. That'll be one of our goals for the year. We really have three different business lines, and we'll be looking to grow in all three of those. This one falls in our kind of fintech business line. We have our boutique bank, and then we have an asset management business. And all three of those are growing rapidly and have huge opportunities. So we're going to look to execute in all three of those areas, and super excited about the Google Plex account. The Plex account by Seattle Bank will be just a really neat, cool initiative, but it's one of quite a few we have for 2021. It should be a very big year for Seattle Bank.
John, great to talk to you on the Tearsheet Podcast.
Great, thanks, Zach. Appreciate it.